This is a photo of Georges Blind, a member of the French resistance, smiling at a German firing squad in October 1944. Blind was known for his active role in the fight against the Nazi occupation in France. The image is powerful and shows Blind facing a moment when his execution was inevitable, yet still maintaining a defiant expression. This act of bravery occurred during an attempt by the Germans to intimidate him into revealing information about the resistance. Blind became an inspiring symbol of the French resistance's spirit during the war. Planes from the U.S. 8th Air Force bombing the Focke-Wulf factory in Marienburg, Germany, around 1943. The factory was known for producing fighters for the Nazis, including advanced models that were important to the German war effort. The operation was part of the Allied strategic bombing campaign, aimed at crippling German industrial production and reducing its air warfare capabilities. The image captures the bombers in formation, dropping their loads over the target, a crucial moment in the air operations aimed at significantly weakening Axis forces in Europe. German saboteur captured while wearing a U.S. Army uniform during the Battle of the Bulge, tied to a stake moments before his execution by a firing squad in Belgium. During this offensive in December 1944, the Germans launched a final massive attempt in the Ardennes, using irregular warfare tactics, including deploying soldiers disguised in Allied uniforms to cause confusion and disorder. The capture and execution of German saboteurs like this one highlight the extreme measures taken in response to these deceptive tactics. This is a photo of Captain Nieves Fernandez, showing an American soldier how she used her long knife to silently kill Japanese soldiers during the occupation of the Philippines in 1944. Nieves Fernandez was a guerrilla leader in the Philippines, one of the few women commanding resistance forces during World War II. The photo illustrates a moment of exchange of experiences and tactics between Allied fighters, highlighting the vital role of local resistance in the fight against Japanese occupation forces. This is a photo of a Chinese soldier guarding a line of American P-40 fighter planes. The United States supplied these planes to the Chinese government as part of the Allied war effort against Japanese forces. The P-40 was widely used in the Asian theater, notably by the Flying Tigers, a group of American volunteer pilots who helped China fight Japan. The image illustrates the military cooperation between the U.S. and China and highlights the vital role of aviation in defending Chinese territory. This is a photo of a Soviet prisoner of war staring at Heinrich Himmler. The image was captured during World War II, a period of global conflicts and mass atrocities. Himmler, a key figure in the Third Reich's leadership, was known for his role in overseeing concentration camps. The photograph occurs in one of these camps, notorious for their inhumane conditions and high number of victims. This is a photo of Witold Pilecki, a member of the Polish resistance during World War II. On an extraordinary mission in 1940, he volunteered to be captured and sent to Auschwitz concentration camp to gather information and organize an internal resistance movement. Pilecki remained in the camp until April 1943, when he managed to escape. After his escape, he wrote one of the first reports detailing the horrors and crimes committed at Auschwitz, playing a crucial role in alerting the outside world to the genocide occurring there. This is a photo of Adolf Hitler dressed in lederhosen, a traditional Bavarian outfit. Taken in the 1930s, Hitler later banned this photo, considering it beneath his dignity. The image, which shows a less formal side that embarrassed the Nazi leader, resurfaced only after an Allied soldier found it in a German house in 1945. The incident highlights how Hitler's public image was carefully cultivated and how he himself tried to control public perception of his figure. This is a photo of a Chinese worker in the United States in 1942, using an improvised sign to distinguish himself from Japanese Americans. During World War II, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, anti-Japanese sentiment in the U.S. led to the unjust internment of American citizens of Japanese descent in concentration camps. The sign, used as a form of self-protection, reflects the climate of fear and suspicion that prevailed, especially on the West Coast, and the desperate attempt to avoid being mistaken for Japanese and consequently being sent to a concentration camp. Photo of German soldiers surrendering to the Red Army in East Prussia in 1945. Captured in the final months of World War II, the image shows the moment when the exhausted and defeated German soldiers handed over their weapons. This event occurred during the final Soviet offensive, advancing into German territory, marking a decisive turning point in the conflict. Mass surrenders were common as Soviet forces surrounded and overran German positions, culminating in the fall of Berlin and the end of the war in Europe. This is a photo representing the historical moment when Germany declared war on the United States on December 11, 1941. This event occurred shortly after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, which had already led the United States to enter World War II. The German declaration, led by Adolf Hitler, solidified the conflict on a truly global scale, involving the world's major powers in a direct confrontation. This act also marked a decisive turning point in the war, uniting more nations against the Axis. This is a photo of children collecting abandoned German equipment in the USSR in 1943. During World War II, invasions and retreats of armies frequently left behind materials and supplies. In these circumstances, local children often scavenged for what they could use or sell, from uniform pieces to armaments. This act not only helped survival in times of scarcity, but also was a way to reuse what the enemy had left behind. This is a photo of Marines from the 5th Division climbing a slope on Red Beach No. 1 towards Suribachi Yama, while the smoke of battle hangs over them. Captured during the intense Battle of Iwo Jima in February 1945, this image highlights the arduous advance of the Marines in one of the most emblematic confrontations of World War II in the Pacific. The climb to Mount Suribachi was crucial as capturing this position allowed the United States to establish a strategic observation and control point on the island. This is a photo of Canadian infantry soldiers climbing stairs while avoiding sniper fire in Campochiaro, Italy in 1943. During the Italian campaign of World War II, Allied forces faced intense resistance in mountainous towns and villages where snipers took advantage of elevated terrain to attack. The image shows soldiers in action, moving carefully to avoid being targeted while progressing through a war-damaged urban area. This is a photo of British female workers assembling Sten's submachine guns in a factory around 1942. During World War II, with many men serving on the front lines, women took on essential roles in the war industry. The Sten submachine guns, known for their simplicity and low production cost, were a crucial weapon for British and Allied forces. This is a photo of a German soldier surrendering to a U.S. paratrooper in Normandy in 1944. The image was captured during Operation Overlord, better known as D-Day, which marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe occupied by the Nazis. The American paratrooper, part of the airborne forces, stands while the German soldier, with his hands raised, signals his surrender. This moment symbolizes the change of tide in the war, as Allied forces began to reclaim territories and advance against the Axis in Europe. This is a photo of Soviet troops entering the Frankfurter Alley 113 subway station to liberate it from German troops in Berlin on April 28, 1945. The image was captured during the final days of World War II in Europe, as Soviet forces rapidly advanced to the heart of Berlin. The subway station, like many other urban infrastructures, had become a strategic defense point for German troops. On February 23, 1945, after 5 days of intense fighting, U.S. Marines performed a symbolic and inspiring act by raising an American flag atop Mount Suribachi, the highest point on the island of Iwo Jima. This action occurred during one of the bloodiest battles in the Pacific theater of World War II. This photo symbolizes not only a strategic victory due to the crucial location of Iwo Jima for the American advance in the Pacific, but also a moment of great morale for American forces and the population at home. This is a photo of U.S. troops passing by the side of a combat transport manned by the Coast Guard to enter landing craft in Empress Augusta Bay, Bougainville, at the start of the invasion. This image documents the preparation and beginning of one of many amphibious operations in the Pacific. The operation in Bougainville was crucial to establishing an Allied presence that would allow subsequent attacks on more fortified Japanese positions. Photo of U.S. Navy cruiser crews covering the American landing on Mindoro Island on December 15, 1944, while scanning the skies to identify a plane above. American forces were engaged in retaking the Philippines, which had been occupied by the Japanese. The image shows the sailors on high alert, looking intently at the sky to detect any threat from enemy aircraft, which frequently tried to attack the ships involved in the landings. Sailors loading the guns aboard the Royal Navy battleship HMS Iron Duke in 1939. The HMS Iron Duke served as a significant warship during World War I and was used in various roles in World War II, including as a training ship and anti-aircraft defense. The image shows sailors in action, handling and positioning the ship's heavy armament, preparing it for combat operations. This is a photo illustrating the intense jungle fighting at Cape Gloucester, where Japanese soldiers, initially retreating into the dense vegetation, managed to gather forces to launch a counterattack against their pursuing U.S. Marines. Operations at Cape Gloucester were part of the larger campaign to neutralize Japanese bases in the region, essential for advancing Allied positions. Photo of American troops receiving supplies during the Battle of Iwo Jima. This image illustrates a crucial moment in the intense and strategic battle that took place on a small island in the Pacific. Iwo Jima was crucial for the United States as a base for air attacks against Japan. Supplies included ammunition, food, and medical equipment, essential for sustaining soldiers in one of the fiercest confrontations of the Pacific War. This is a photo of General Dwight D. Eisenhower giving the order of the day. The image shows Eisenhower, then Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe, communicating with his troops. This moment is significant as the orders of the day often preceded important operations, such as the Normandy landings in June 1944. This is a photo of Luftwaffe planes, the German Air Force, flying in formation over an unspecified city around 1939. This period marks the beginning of World War II, when the Luftwaffe played a crucial role in Germany's war efforts, especially in the Blitzkrieg campaigns that dominated Europe in the early years of the conflict. The image shows a typical formation used to maximize operational effectiveness and psychological impact on observers on the ground. These flyovers were often used to demonstrate power and intimidate both military forces and civilian populations in the overflown areas. London telephone operators and engineers trying on their gas masks at the Civil Anti-Gas Training Center in Gloucester around February 1937. The training was part of civil defense preparations before World War II, anticipating chemical attacks that were a major concern at the time. The image shows workers equipped with gas masks, practicing proper use and learning essential safety procedures to protect themselves in case of chemical air raids. Dead Italian soldier holding a photograph of his son, captured in El Alamein, Egypt in 1942. This powerful and moving image was taken during the Second Battle of El Alamein, one of the decisive confrontations in the North African theater. The battle was crucial in stopping the Axis advance in Africa and marked a turning point for the Allied forces in the region. This is a photo of prisoners lining up for roll call at the Buchenwald concentration camp in Germany around 1943. Buchenwald was one of the largest concentration camps established within Germany's borders, and was the site of numerous atrocities committed against political prisoners, Jews, Romani people, and other groups persecuted by the Nazi regime. The image shows the detainees lined up, a recurring moment of control and discipline brutally imposed by the camp guards. This visual record is a grim reminder of the inhumane conditions and suffering faced by the prisoners at Buchenwald during World War II. American sailors rescuing survivors of the USS West Virginia during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. This surprise attack was a pivotal moment for the United States' entry into World War II. The USS West Virginia was one of several battleships hit and severely damaged that day. The image captures the heroic efforts of the sailors in the water, helping to rescue their comrades amid burning oil and floating debris. This is a shocking photo capturing the moment when Red Army officers and soldiers observed the suicide of a Nazi family in Demmin, Germany in April 1945. During this period, instead of surrendering to the advancing Soviet forces, about 1,000 Demmin citizens committed suicide in just 72 hours, a tragic event reflecting extreme despair and fear. The arrival of the Red Army was often marked by the liberation of prisoners, but also by acts of violence and terror against civilians, contributing to a climate of mass panic. This is a photo of the 21 centimeters K-12, a massive German railway gun, firing from occupied France toward the English Channel. With a barrel 108 feet long and weighing over 660,000 pounds, this gun was one of the most formidable artillery pieces used during World War II. Designed to hit targets at long distances, it was part of the German efforts to bombard British territory from the European continent. This is a photo showing thousands of captured German Kar 98K rifles in Stavanger, Norway, after Germany's surrender in 1945. The Kar 98K, the standard infantry weapon of the German army during the war, is seen here piled up in large quantities, symbolizing the demobilization of German forces and the end of the conflict in the region. The capture of these weapons marked the Allies' effective control over Norway, which had been occupied by the Germans since 1940. This is a photo of TBM's Avenger and SB-2C's Helldiver, based on the USS Essex dropping bombs on Hakodate, Japan. Captured during the final phases of World War II, the image illustrates a significant aerial operation involving these two types of U.S. Navy aircraft. The USS Essex was an aircraft carrier that played a crucial role in the Pacific theater, participating in several key operations against Japanese targets. The action in Hakodate was part of a series of airstrikes aimed at pressuring Japan into surrendering. This is a photo of B-25 bombers flying over Mount Vesuvius in Italy as it erupts in March 1944, during the Italian campaign of World War II. The captured moment is spectacular and rare, combining a dramatic natural event with ongoing military operations. The B-25 was predominantly used by the Allies for medium-range missions. The eruption of Vesuvius added an extra challenge to military operations in the region, affecting both ground troops and aerial missions. This is a photo of a Russian spy laughing at the moment of his execution in Finland in 1942. During World War II, tensions between Finland and the Soviet Union were high, especially after the Winter War and during the Continuation War. Spies were frequently used by both sides to gather vital information. The image shows the spy facing his final fate with a smile. This event illustrates the brutality of the war and the grim realities faced by those caught in acts of espionage. This is a photo of a mass burial at sea, capturing the moment bodies are being cast into the ocean in 1944 after a kamikaze attack. During World War II, especially in the Pacific theater, kamikaze attacks were common, where Japanese pilots used their aircraft as weapons in suicide missions against Allied ships. The image shows Allied military personnel conducting a funeral at sea, a procedure adopted when ships were far from land or when the war circumstances prevented returning the bodies for conventional burials. This solemn act reflects the harsh reality of war and the respect for those who fell in combat. This is a photo of victims of a Nazi air raid being buried in London. During World War II, London and other British cities suffered intense bombings by the German Luftwaffe, known as the Blitz. These attacks aimed to demoralize the civilian population and damage critical infrastructure. This is a photo of a German soldier returning from the war to his home in Frankfurt in 1946, only to find it in ruins and his family dead. After the end of World War II, many German cities were devastated by Allied bombings, and the civilian population faced severe human and material losses. The image captures the soldier's moment of pain and desolation as he confronts the post-war reality, a direct reflection of the devastating consequences of the conflict on German soil. Photo of a motor torpedo boat gunner handling a .50 caliber machine gun on his boat in New Guinea. Captured during operations in World War II, this image shows the soldier in a moment of high tension and focus as he prepares his weapon for combat. Torpedo boats were crucial for quick attacks and agile maneuvers in coastal waters, often facing enemy forces in challenging conditions. The .50 caliber machine gun, known for its devastating power, was an effective choice for these missions, providing formidable defense against enemy aircraft and vessels. German soldier sitting with his head in his hands beside a destroyed heavy artillery gun and the body of one of his comrades. The image was captured during the Battle of Kursk in July 1943, one of the most significant and intense confrontations on the Eastern Front. This was the largest tank battle in history and marked a turning point, with Soviet forces successfully repelling the German attack. This is a photo of prisoners in the Sachsenhausen concentration camp located in Germany. This grim image shows the camp's internees, many of whom were political prisoners, Jews, prisoners of war, and other groups persecuted by the Nazi regime. Sachsenhausen was one of many camps established to execute the Nazis' policy of terror and extermination. The photo may show prisoners in precarious conditions, highlighting the brutal reality and inhumane conditions faced by the detainees. Doctors helping a wounded soldier in France in 1944. Captured during the intense fighting that followed the Normandy landings, the image shows medics in action on the battlefield. Combat medics played a vital role, often risking their own lives to provide immediate medical care to wounded soldiers. This specific scene illustrates the urgency and gravity of medical care amidst war, reflecting the ongoing effort to save lives even under the constant threat of attack. This is a photo showing the mark of a Japanese Imperial kamikaze aircraft on the side of HMS Sussex in 1945. During World War II, Japanese kamikaze pilots, on suicide missions, attacked Allied ships intending to cause maximum damage. The HMS Sussex, a Royal Navy heavy cruiser, served on several fronts during the war. The image captures the impact and resulting damage of one of these kamikaze attacks, evidencing the intensity and desperation of the confrontations in the Pacific theater. This is a photo of Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel signing the ratified surrender terms for the German army at the Russian headquarters in Berlin. The image was captured in May 1945, marking one of the final moments of World War II in Europe. Keitel, as a representative of the German High Command, performed the formal signing that culminated in the total capitulation of Nazi Germany. The surrender ceremony took place in a tense environment laden with historical significance, effectively ending the fighting in Europe and signaling the end of the Third Reich. This is a photo of an Allied soldier shaking a dog's paw during the Battle of the Bulge. It occurred in the winter of 1944 to 1945, one of the last major confrontations in Western Europe during World War II. The event is marked by the German attempt to split the Allied forces in the Ardennes region of Belgium. The presence of a dog suggests moments of emotional relief amidst the chaos of war, trying to recall a bit of everyday life before the war. This encounter between the soldier and the animal occurs during intense fighting and harsh weather conditions. Photo depicting the extreme brutality and violence of the Nazi regime. A Jewish woman about to be hanged in a concentration camp in Germany. During World War II, concentration camps were places of unimaginable horror, where millions of Jews, along with other persecuted groups, were systematically exterminated or subjected to torture and forced labor. The execution of prisoners, often in public within the camp itself, served as an act of terror and a means to subjugate the remaining prisoners. This photo captures one of the many acts of cruelty that characterize the genocide perpetrated by the Holocaust, highlighting the necessity to remember and teach about these crimes to prevent such atrocities from happening again. This is a photo of children imprisoned in the Auschwitz extermination camp in Poland. Auschwitz is one of the most notorious sites of the Nazi regime's brutality during World War II, functioning both as a concentration and extermination camp. The image likely shows a group of Jewish children or other persecuted minorities confined in inhumane conditions. This visual record is a poignant reminder of the extreme suffering faced by the most vulnerable during the Holocaust, where millions of people, including a large number of children, were exterminated or subjected to forced labor and medical experiments. This is a rare photo showing a mouse tank and a Sturm Tiger together on a transport train. Both were heavy armored vehicles developed by Germany during World War II. The mouse is notable for being the heaviest tank ever built, although it saw very little action, while the Sturm Tiger is known for its massive rocket launcher intended to destroy fortifications. The image captures an unusual moment where these two formidable war machines are being transported, likely to or from a battlefield, highlighting the military logistics and innovation in weapon design of the era. This is a photo of British Royal Signal soldiers laughing during a mockery of Adolf Hitler's gestures, titled Mocking der Führer. The image was captured on October 3, 1939, shortly after the war began. In this scene, one of the soldiers is parodying Hitler, exaggerating his gestures and speeches, which elicits laughter from his comrades. This activity reflects an aspect of morale and humor among the troops, using satire as a way to cope with the tension and gravity of the conflict. This is a photo of a British sniper during World War II. Equipped with a precision rifle, he is in a resting position, camouflaged to blend in with the surrounding environment. Snipers played a crucial role on the battlefields of the war, specializing in taking down important targets from long distances and gathering information on enemy positions. They were trained to be extremely patient and precise, often remaining in static positions for hours to ensure the perfect shot. This is a photo of a Panzer IV tank in Soviet fields during Operation Barbarossa in 1941. Operation Barbarossa was the invasion of the Soviet Union by Nazi Germany, marking one of the largest and most brutal military campaigns of World War II. The Panzer IV, one of the main tanks used by the German army, played a crucial role in the tank battles on the vast plains of the Soviet Union. The image captures several tanks in action on open terrain, symbolizing the initial German advance that, for a time, seemed invincible until facing fierce resistance and adverse weather conditions that eventually helped turn the course of the war.